بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this new episode of Ask Zad. Our first question for tonight is from Sania. Sania says, what's the Islamic ruling on post-mortem, and what about medical students dissecting deceased human bodies for educational purposes? In Islam, we tend to honor the bodies of those who die. The Prophet ﷺ illustrates this by saying that the breaking of the bone of a person who's deceased is like the breaking of the bone of a living person. This is due to the fact that many people think that when a person is dead, then he doesn't feel pain, which means that we can disrespect his body, throw him, toss him around, treat him roughly, that is the body, because he's dead. And the hadith shows us that the Prophet ﷺ honors the corpse of a Muslim, even while he's dead. And when we come to autopsy or post-mortem, this is usually done in or for a number of reasons. The scholars stated that it is permissible, if not mandatory, to do it in case of criminal investigation. So if a person dies and we have reasons to doubt the cause of death, we need to know whether he died poisoned or due to a blow to his body or internal bleeding or whatever. We need to investigate so that we can know who the perpetrator was. In this case, this is a legitimate reason because of the benefits of such post-mortem. We have to do it. The benefits exceed and overweigh the harm that is anticipated. The second reason would be in case of epidemics and how to stop them. And the third reason would be for educational purposes. And this is where we tend to differ and dispute. But without any doubt, in order to advance healthcare, students of medicine need to do this. It's an essential part of their studies. Doing it to animals does not suffice. It's not sufficient. And yet, or hence, they are obliged to do it on human beings. However, the scholars had made conditions. First, that it cannot be done unless the person while alive gives the permission to do that after his death. And this condition is debatable again, because even if I give you permission to dissect my body after my death for educational reasons, this doesn't allow me to give you the permission because I don't possess my body. I cannot allow people to take my heart, my liver, my eye, use my body parts after my death as organ donations, according to the most authentic opinion. It's an issue of dispute, but we've always repeated this, that this is not your body. Or in other words, this is not something you possess so that you can come and say, okay, I think 10 fingers are too many. I'm going to take away my pinky. I don't need it. Someone who used to drive a manual transmission car, buying an automatic, says, I don't need the left leg. Let me amputate it anymore. This is ridiculous. You do not possess the body, so you are not entitled to donate body parts. Likewise, you cannot give them the permission to do autopsy on your body after your death, post-mortem. Now, the most authentic opinion in my view is that this is not permissible with your permission. So how can we move on? How can we practice this? Scholars also say that you cannot perform post-mortem over corpses that belong to people who are known as ma'soomud dam, those who are prohibited for you to kill or to abuse or to attack, which means that anyone who's Muslim, you cannot do that on him. Anyone who is living in Muslim lands, who has a covenant, you cannot do that. Any person, any citizen belonging to a country that we have a covenant with, which is almost every country in the world, except those who are enemies of Islam, who do not have covenants with the Muslim governments, in this case, yes. So who's left? Scholars say, due to necessity, if you go to some poor countries who are not Muslim, the families are willing to sell the corpses of their loved ones, their father, their brother, their son, who had died, and instead of burning him or burying him, they'd rather get a couple of $1,000s or more and give it to medical research. In this case, scholars say that this is okay and legitimate, and there is nothing wrong in that, insha'Allah. Afzal says, if a person has wronged other people and realized after years, but now it is difficult to find them and apologize, what should he do in this situation? First of all, the Prophet told us, alayhi salatu wassalam, that there are 3 books, if you may say, and these books, on the Day of Judgment, one of them, Allah does not ever forgive, which deals with blasphemy, with shirk, with atheism, anything that deals with disbelief. This is unforgiven, immediately taken to hell. The second book, or record book, Allah does not pay attention to. And this is related to sins other than shirk. So what's between you and Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah Azza wa Jal does not pay attention to that. He would forgive, because Allah is most forgiving. And these are sins between you and Allah Azza wa Jal. The third record book is the one that Allah does not leave until He make things even. And this is what's between the servants themselves. And this is what this question of afzal is related to. The Prophet ﷺ said in an authentic hadith, whoever transgresses against his Muslim brother, he must get even and seek his forgiveness or compensation before the day of judgment. Because on the day of judgment, there are no dirham or dinar. It is only good deeds and bad deeds. Now this hadith clearly explains to us what will happen on the day of judgment. A third hadith, the Prophet says, alayhi salatu salam, to his companions, do you know who is a person who's broke, al-muflis, the one who's bankrupt? Who's he? So the companions defined it according to their worldly knowledge. So they said, a bankrupt person is a person who does not have dirham or dinar. He doesn't have any money. So the Prophet ﷺ clarified this to them. And he said that a bankrupt person is a person that comes on the day of judgment with good deeds of prayer, fasting, and charity. Whoa, so this guy is a righteous person. Well, this is what some people think of him. Then the Prophet says, ﷺ, but he hit or beat this person, he cursed this person, he slandered this person, he backbit this person. So on the day of judgment, he'll start giving away his good deeds to them according to his transgression. And if his good deeds run out, then he will start to take from their sins and pile it on himself, and then he will be thrown into hell. A'udhu billah. So this shows you that whatever you do, even if it is an ant's weight, whatever you do against your brother, it will reflect on you on the day of judgment by him taking from your good deeds. One of the sisters called me and said that my in-laws abuse me, mentally that is, whenever I visit them in holidays. And I travel to them and they start to say bad things about me in front of me. Good intention, bad intention, Allah knows. But it hurts so bad that I don't want to see them. And I tell her, why are you so angry? Go, let them say whatever you want. This is all expiation to your sins. Allah is elevating your level. Allah is erasing your sins. So whatever they do, you should be grateful to them. Just do not let it get under your skin. Do not let it settle in your heart. So it's very important to know that on the day of judgment, it's good deeds and bad deeds. Now, if you wronged people, then you have a problem. You have to go to these people and ask them for forgiveness. This is the ultimate. So you backbit me. You cursed me. You said something that was slanderous about me. And then you felt remorse and you're sad. And you say, khalas, let it go. On the day of judgment, we'll meet. And I'll take what's mine. Even if I did not know about it. Allah records every single thing. So what to do, Sheikh? You have a course, one of two. Either you come to me and you tell me, Sheikh, I've wronged you, I've said bad things about you, please forgive me. And in this situation, there are two possibilities, or maybe three. One, I would say to you, I would never forgive you for saying what you had said. 2, I would say, may Allah forgive you. And may Allah forgive anyone who said bad things about me. And this is genuine, huh? I'm saying this now to you all. May Allah forgive anyone who said anything bad about me. Thirdly, I would investigate and say, what did you say? I want to know exactly what you had said so that I would forgive you. Now, this is problematic because if you tell me, this may cause more damage than good. So now you're coming to me, I know you, we meet, we socialize, I have nothing against you. When you came to seek my forgiveness and I inquired about the things you had said about me, if you tell me, this may add fuel to the fire. I didn't think you would dare and say such a thing. And I would become more furious and maybe not speak to you to the rest of my life. And this is more harm than good. So this is the first scenario. The second scenario is that you do not tell me, fearing that the consequences, the repercussions of telling me would cause more evil than good. And in this case, because of such a genuine fear, you have no other alternative but to, whenever my name is mentioned in similar places where you had slandered me or cursed me or said bad things about me, you praise me. And you say, no, the Sheikh is a good one, the Sheikh has this and that. You say the good things about that individual that you had wronged. And you make dua for him. Oh Allah, forgive him. Oh Allah, pardon him and erase his sins, etc. Hoping that by your repentance, remorse, and seeking Allah's forgiveness, that on the day of judgment you will come and Allah, when it's time for being accountable, and when I come and say, oh Allah, this guy said so many bad things about me, give me from his good deeds, Allah would say, he had repented, I accepted his repentance, and I will compensate you from deeds and good deeds from me. So Allah would not consume his good deeds to erase my sins, rather he would please me and I will go pleased with the grace of Allah Azza wa Jal. So I hope this answers the question, but be careful from wronging others. This will haunt you for the rest of your life. So many people tend to misinterpret and come up with excuses so that they go to bed and sleep without any worries, not knowing that even if they don't remember or they try not to remember, it is all recorded with Allah Azza wa Jal. Fatima says, my husband lives in Saudi Arabia and I live in India with my in-laws. I do not want to stay here in the absence of my husband, but I live here just because my husband said so. What's the ruling regarding this? Can I go and stay at my parents' house without my husband's permission? Fatima, this is a complicated scenario because originally, unlike what the people in the subcontinent want or like to hear, a woman, a wife in Islam deserves a separate accommodation. This is her right in all books of fiqh. And this legitimate accommodation is identified by a room, a kitchenette, and a bathroom. That's it. It doesn't have to be a mansion. It doesn't have to be a spacious apartment, though that would be a plus, but this is her right in Islam. The vast majority of the people in the subcontinent marry to bring a new servant to their mother and sisters. She's the one who cooks and cleans, and why would she do such a thing? She was living honorably in her parents' house. Why would she move? What is the cost? If she's marrying Mr. Olympia, maybe. If she's marrying someone who's as rich as Warren Buffett, maybe. He's neither handsome, nor rich, nor a knowledgeable sheikh. So what's the compensation for giving up her rights? Nothing but to be a servant, a maid, and to be abused on top of that, not appreciated by everyone in the house. This is haram. This is unfair. So it is your right, Fatima, to get such an accommodation. But if you give up your right because you love your husband and you stay with him in your in-laws' house, providing that there is no free mixing in such a joint family, it is totally prohibited, even if your husband wants it, that you live in a house where your brothers-in-law roam freely. And sometimes I get complaints, lots of times, of brothers-in-law barging in the bedroom of their sister-in-law without knocking, without asking, because this is their house. They don't respect their privacy. This is a serious issue. No man would accept this to happen to his wife. He can be a goat, he can be a sheep, he cannot be a man. So if this is the case, you're not allowed to live in such environment. This is haram environment to have such free mixing. Now, if your husband is out of the country, 6 months, maybe a year, working to earn money, why are you staying in your in-laws' house? The one who you are supposed to serve, who is your husband, is not there. And if there is non-mahrams coming in and out or living in the house, definitely you must not be there. You have all the right to go and live with your parents. If your husband does not allow you to do that, you do not have to obey him. You're not obliged to obey him. He's not there. And he's not providing you with a legitimate Islamic environment to live in, and hence you can leave and go to your parents' house. However, you have to weigh the pros and cons and present it to him diplomatically but firmly, that either you provide me with a separate accommodation where I can have my privacy with my children, or then I will have to go and live with my parents until you come back. We have a short break. Stay tuned, and inshallah we'll be right back. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I'm going to talk about the book Interactions of the Greatest Leader. Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no one's wealth helped me as much as the wealth of Abu Bakr helped me. After which Abu Bakr began to weep and say, and is my life and wealth for anything besides you, O Messenger of Allah? This narration shows the level of etiquette and humbleness that Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, had in the presence of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for he likened himself to a slave of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam by saying that his wealth was only for the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as well as his soul and self. This comes as no surprise, for the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has more right on the believers than themselves. He, may Allah be pleased with him, spent his wealth in the cause of Allah, and he consoled the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam through his own self. So the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam recognized that for him and said, in order to build his stature and to remind the Ummah of his virtues, no one's wealth helped me as much as the wealth of Abu Bakr helped me. Among the benefits of this narration, it is important to keep good manners and humbleness in the presence of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Thanking someone who has bestowed some favor on you, as well as supplicating for them, is part of having good manners. Reported by Al-Bukhari, reported by Al-Tirmidhi and Ibn Majah. Albani ruled it authentic in his book Sahih Al-Jami', the explanation of As-Sindi on the book of Ibn Majah, and At-Taysir بشرح الجامع الصغير.
Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome back. Zakaria says, I know we can't pass in front of praying person, but can we reach our arms in front of him to pick a Quran or any object that is beside him on his other side? For example, I will be sitting to his right and someone will pass me the Quran who is sitting to his left, and we will pass the Quran in front of him while he is praying. The Prophet ﷺ prohibited walking in front. Someone who's praying to a sutra. And we've explained that a sutra is an object that is a foot high, a visor, a screen that you put in front of you, and you pray towards it so that people would identify that you're praying and they cannot violate your space. But if a person does not pray to a sutra and someone wants to pass and walk in front of him, he is entitled to do this, providing it is beyond the place where he puts his forehead in. So the prostration spot, if he walks beyond it, this is okay. The question is, what about if I'm not going to walk in front, but rather penetrate this space through giving something or taking something from someone on the other side? So if I'm praying and the one sitting to my right hands something to the one sitting to my left, and it's like a foot in front of me because he's giving and the other one is taking. So would that be prohibited? This would not be prohibited because this is not considered to be walking, but it is inappropriate because of your invasion of his space, and this breaks his concentration. Yet we cannot say it's prohibited in the sense that the prohibition is in passing. And the hand itself is not considered to be passing, as in the authentic hadith where the Prophet ﷺ was once in seclusion, in i'tikaf, in the masjid. And his house was adjacent to the masjid. So there was a door between them. And in his house was Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, who was in her menses. So the Prophet said to her, ﷺ, hand me that piece of garment. So she said, O Prophet of Allah, I'm in my menses. I don't want to violate the purity of the masjid. The Prophet said, ﷺ, I know you are in your menses. Your menses is not in your hand. Meaning that when you hand it to me while your body is still in the house, there's nothing wrong in that, because the penetration of your arm to the vicinity of the masjid does not or is not considered to be entering it with your body, which is not permissible for a woman in her menses. So I hope this answers your question. A sister says, how to deal with a careless, unromantic husband without being sinful? This needs a counseling session, unfortunately. See, A lot of the sisters neglect that the nature of men is different than the nature of women. These are from Mars and these are from Venus, as they say. Though they have two arms, two legs, a head, usually a head, hopefully, but they're different in nature. The guys, when they sit together, they speak about everything except their emotions. They speak about cars, real estate, their work, how much they earned, what they bought, what they sold, but never talk about their inner feelings. While women talk about nothing except such relationships. So-and-so divorced his wife. So-and-so got married to a second wife. So-and-so betrayed her husband. So-and-so did this and did that. My husband forgot my birthday, our anniversary. My husband did not know when my first child was born, etc. All of these things, this is how they think. Women are emotional by nature. And this causes a lot of conflict between the spouses when they fail to understand the nature of the other party. The happiest of husbands is that person who always remembers and anticipates and always has the upper hand. So he always texts his wife, I miss you, I love you. He always remembers that her sister's wedding is next week and he takes the necessary preparations and buys the necessary gifts and remembers such important events. And the best of wives is that wife that overlooks when her husband forgets that they've been married for so long. So many wives give a placement test, a quiz on the spot. Which year were we married in? I don't know. It feels like a couple of centuries, if you ask me. But, Akhi, why are you answering in such a fashion? It is. I've been married to her for more like 200, 300 years. She's so old that when she was born, rainbows were in black and white. Akhi, you're not allowed to say such things. Yeah, but it's funny. It's funny for you. It's funny for the guys. It's not funny for her. So we have a problem in communication. Once each party knows how to communicate and how to overlook, and this is an important issue in Islam, known as at-taghaful, meaning to look the other way. Not every single word that comes out of your wife's mouth you have to interrogate and know the intent behind it. Move on. Shrug your shoulders and move on. Likewise, you don't have to question every gesture your husband had done. And what did he mean when he said so and so in front of your father or your mother? And why didn't he do this and why did he do that? Life does not go on like this. Marriage cannot continue healthy in such an environment. So if your husband is careless, if he's not romantic, do what you have to do to change him positively. You have two courses of action. One, lecturing, reprimanding, blaming, pointing the finger. You did this, why didn't you do that? And you keep on nagging him until he either divorces you or chooses a second wife, because this is not healthy. The second course of action can be that you deal with him in a positive way. If he's not romantic, be romantic without waiting for a response. So if he comes on a special night, it's nice to have candlelight dinner. And he would notice, maybe he would not comment now, or in the 5th time, or on the 10th time, but he notices and enjoys what he sees. If you buy him a gift, if you put a rose on his pillow, if you cook him good meals, and always be presentable in how you look, applying body lotions, perfumes, wearing your hair in a nice and tidy way, putting a nice dress on, he'll notice this. And after a while, he would be enjoying it. And after a while, he would be forced to reciprocate, whether you tell him or not. But it would always be shameful for him not to brush his teeth, not to comb his hair, not to take a shower before any kind of intimacy, not to wear new clothes, not to be romantic. And soon, inshallah, you'll find that he's texting you, that he's buying you gifts because you initiated the process. But when we start the blaming game, you did not do this to me when I did that to you, and you have a record book. On the 5th of January, I bought you a bottle of perfume. On the 12th of February, I did this and that, before Valentine's Day, because we don't celebrate Valentine. On March, on April, and you have a list of everything you had done. You didn't do anything. A'udhu billah. What kind of a marriage is this? Such interrogation, such nagging is not healthy. And living in depression is not healthy either. When you start to regret, why did I marry this guy? He's so careless, he's unromantic, he is rude, he doesn't know how to use diplomacy and use beautiful words. His jokes always hurt me and insult me. And you live inside of your own shell, depressed. This is not healthy. Not for you, not for the marriage, not for the children. So you have to come out of your shell and you have to look at the bigger picture. You have to try and work on yourself and your lowest self-esteem. You have to think positive of yourself and overlook so many of these trivial issues and do whatever you do for the sake of Allah, seeking the pleasure of Allah, and you will see the difference, insha'Allah azza wa jal. Ismail says, can I sell makeup and other cosmetics to women? Are there any guidelines to follow when doing such a business? Well, what's the ruling on selling cosmetics? It's halal. Selling a lipstick, an eyeliner, a mascara, nail polish, all of these things are like the ruling of selling a knife. You can use the knife to cut meat and bread with, and you can use it to hurt people. And I do not know what your intent is. The product that I'm selling is halal. How you use it is what makes you sinful or not. And therefore, selling cosmetics, makeup, perfumes online, for example, or in a shop, when people come and buy, I do not have the right to accuse their intent that they're going to wear it without the hijab. They're going to give it to an actress who's going to appear on movies, and I would be sinful for assisting her. This is not logical, because you can open the door for wiswas and for the doubts of shaitan Even if you sell a bottle of water, this bottle of water can be transformed into ice, and then you can have scotch on the rocks. So you've assisted him to drink intoxicants. A'udhu billah. This is not logical. You cannot sell cars, you cannot even sell a pen, because this pen might be used in signing a riba-based loan and contract. So the rule of thumb is, if the product itself is halal, then selling it is halal, providing I do not know the intent of the person buying it. I have a bakery. Someone comes to me and says, I'd like you to bake me a cake, chocolate cake with this and that on it. Okay, the price is so and so. Gives me the price and leaves. I give them the cake. They take it and they celebrate a birthday or an anniversary. I didn't know that. Your money is halal, your work is halal. Someone comes to me and says, I'd like you to make me a birthday cake and put happy birthday to Jonathan. You refrain and say, I apologize, but this is against my religion. I cannot participate in making you such a cake. Because now you know, before making it and selling it, the intent. Someone comes and leases your apartment or a shop in your building, and they say that we're going to sell clothes. They say that we're going to live in it. That's halal. After the contract is signed for a whole year, you find out that they have an ATM machine, or they are selling something that is haram, or they are partying in means of haram and music, etc. You didn't know, but now you do. After the year is over, you do not renew the contract, and so on. Abdullah says, what are the conditions when we can combine prayers while it is raining? If it's just drizzling little, can we do this? And can women also combine prayers at home while it's raining? To answer your second part of the question, no, women or even men who pray at home cannot combine when it's raining, because combining or joining prayers is something that Allah has permitted men to do in order to make life easy for them by not going to the masjid when it's all raining and muddy. A person who's staying home, who's not a traveler, who's a resident, should pray every prayer on time as normal. But those who go to the masjid to pray every fard when it rains heavily. So if it's just small showers that do not soak your clothes, and there's no mud on the roads, there's no hardship, then you're not exempted. You must pray in the masjid. But if it's really raining heavily and the roads are muddy, and if you go and come back, you'll be totally soaked with mud, with water. In this case, Allah gave you the concession. You can pray Maghrib, for example, in the masjid, and after you finish it, the mu'adhin makes iqamah, and you pray 4 rak'ah of Isha. So that when you leave and go home, you have the rest of the night off. Likewise with Dhuhr and Asr. We prayed Dhuhr at 12:30. After we finished, make iqamah, pray 4 rak'ahs Asr, and then you go until it is Maghrib time. And this was done at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And if the rain is really heavy, before you leave home, you can pray home without any problem. The joining is when you've gone to the masjid and it started to rain heavily. But if you are in your home and it rains heavily, and in order to reach the masjid, you'll be soaked because of the rain, and you'll have dirt on you because of the mud on the roads. No, you have the concession, you have the permission to pray home without any problem, inshallah. Suha says, can we write something related to the translation in the Quran? If I understand your question, Suha, that you have a copy of the Quran in Arabic and you would like to write something beside the margin related to tafsir. So you come to a particular word and you write the meaning of it. This is an issue of dispute. Some allow it and some prohibit it. And I'm inclined to the side that prohibits it simply because this is one, safer, two, more respectful, and three, there are alternatives. So nowadays, we have stick notes. We have notebooks that we can write whatever we want while keeping the Quran intact, pure, and without any form of disrespect. Yes, some of the companions, and this supports the opinion of scholars who said that this is permissible, some of the companions used to write something according to the tafsir they heard from the Prophet ﷺ beside the Quran pages. Some of them. Yet some of them prevented that and prohibited that. So it's an issue of dispute. And no one would blame you if you write whatever you want on a separate notebook or on little pieces of paper that can be stuck and attached to the Quran and removed easily without affecting it. Nobody would say, no, you must write on the Quran, and therefore this is safer and Allah knows best. Zainab says, I have heard that when you take your ghusl after menses, if the time of combining prayer is there, you should combine prayers. Like if I get pure and take ghusl at 10 p.m., do I have to pray both Maghrib and Isha prayers combined? Likewise, if I get pure at the time of Asr, do I have to pray Dhuhr and Asr both? What you say, Zainab, was said by some scholars. They say that if a woman gets pure after Isha and she takes her ritual bath, she must pray Isha. But due to that Maghrib is in the same class or time of Isha, she must pray Maghrib and Isha. But this is baseless in the sense that though it sounds good, it was never mentioned in the Quran or in the Sunnah. Now, we ask a general question. What is the ruling on praying while you are in your menses? The consensus of scholars is that it's haram. It's prohibited and it's invalid. So we ask another question. At the time of Maghrib, when the sun set, until the time of Isha was due, were you pure or were you on your menses? The answer is no, she was on her menses. Then what is the ruling on praying Maghrib? So, oh no, this is making it up. What's the ruling on making up prayers that were missed during menses? It's haram. Why not also make up for Dhuhr and Asr and Fajr of today, which were like few hours ago? Might as well. No, this is totally wrong and not correct nor authentic, and women should not do that. You only pray the time when you became pure, which is Isha or which is Asr, or whatever time that time is. Muhammad says, what is the Islamic way of naming a child? Can we give two names or should it be a single name? What about middle name and the last name? First of all, Muhammad, it is one of your child's rights over you that you give him a proper name, an Islamic name. I had students of mine with names such as Wolf or Lucas, or names of insects and reptiles. What is this? This is injustice to your child. You have to give the child a good and proper name. Nowadays we have these westernized liberal Muslims who avoid, to the best of their ability, any name that is Islamic. So a man is given a child and you tell him, okay, call the child Muhammad, call the child Zainab. He said, no. I'd like to call my son as Daniel. Why? He said, because when the Westerners call him, they would say Danny. It's a Western name, so it's yani possible. They wouldn't know that he's a Muslim. The girl, I would give her a name of Sarah, not even Sarah, Sarah. A'udhu billah. What kind of Islam do you have in your heart? These people would like to take off their skins if they can, so that people would not know that they're Muslims. And this is disgraceful. This is shameful. You have to give your child a name that he would be proud of and that he would relate to. So if you call him Sa'd, so when he grows up, you say, do you know who Sa'd is? Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, Sa'd ibn Ubadah. All of these great companions with the name of Sa'd. He knows their history, he knows what they had done to Islam, and he would aspire to be like them. A lot of in the subcontinent, in some Arab countries, give two names to a child. The first name by default is Muhammad, seeking the blessing. So my name is Asim, my father would call me Muhammad Asim. And his name is Muhammad Luqman. And his father's name is Muhammad Yunus. What is this? So you read the list of names and, okay, you're Muhammad and your father is Asim. No. My name is Asim. And who's Muhammad? I'm Muhammad. And what is this? This is confusing people. Give only one name for your child. Either Muhammad or Asim. And it has to be followed by the father's name. And then by the grandfather's name or by the family name. So my father is Luqman. My name is Assim Al-Hakeem. I'm known also as Asim Luqman Al-Hakeem. I can be Asim ibn Luqman. All of this is possible. But do not give so many ambiguous names, and definitely nothing to do with the mother's family. It cannot be in the child's name, because a man or a child that is born out of a legitimate marriage is only attributed to his father and forefathers, not to his mother's family, because this is only when the child is born out of wedlock. This is all the time we have. Until we meet next time, I leave you fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.